Grace Wolfel. The College of Arts and Sciences is on a mission to enhance creativity and community this school year. Elevating the Arts grants provided competitive funding for projects, research, and events to increase student participation in the arts. This broadcast you're watching right now is brought to you by an Elevating the Arts grant. Today, I'm joined by some grant recipients to discuss their proposals and the impact they had on the St. Thomas community. Our first grant recipient is a project that sings creativity. Students in the Music, Film, and Creative Enterprise Department created a student-led record label, the 480 Collective. This year's grant is intended to expand and grow the label by involving students in recording, production, and marketing. We are here with Clinical Professor of Music Industry and Recording Arts, Dr. Steve Cole, and St. Thomas Senior and founder of the label, Ben Barrett. Ben, what excites you about this project?
It's really how it started and then to see, what it's become now. So this just started, the 480 Collective started as just a capstone course, and we went in first day and we didn't have a capstone project yet. It was kind of just like, what do you want to do? And Dr. Cole was just kind of sat there in the back, and then it was this group of students, like I was a sophomore at the time, and then we had these juniors and seniors just talking about the possibilities of like this new recording studio at the Schoenecker Center and what we could do with it. And right away, people on campus, students who made music, what if we could get them into the recording studio and make their tracks and then elevate and start their music careers like from here, with this kind of good community of support. And it's so exciting because we've added so many things along the way of live events, ticket giveaways, more and more performance opportunities for like more people, like open mics, partnerships with other colleges. So it's just really been exciting to see how this thing has grown and what it's doing now.
Yeah, speaking of opportunities, what have you had like in this past semester or like upcoming events that you have going on?
Yeah, we have a ton of really exciting stuff right now, a lot of stuff that's happened, and a couple of really cool things coming up. We are really happy to be back another year, our second year for Tommy Fest. So we've been working with Campus Life closely to get our student artists a spot on the big stage that, the same stage as these big artists perform on for the universities. So we have like a 45-minute set of two student artist groups performing before, these big acts come in from out of town and perform as well. So we're super excited and super thrilled to have our artists get to perform on that stage. And then we're excited to do a ton of other stuff for the university, like students. Like you don't have to be involved in music or play music to enter our giveaways with Live Nation, where they give us free tickets and we can give those out to the university. Like people can enter through raffles and enjoy shows. We've got open mic nights now where students can just come and perform a song or two without any pressure of like needing to sign or join the label. It's just a place to get on stage, perform a couple songs, no matter like skill level, and be welcomed in by this community.
Yeah, and Dr. Cole, how does a project like this help prepare students for a production future?
Well, I think it prepares students because it addresses kind of the entire ecosystem that surrounds music production, and music industry. There's not one particular skill set that is required to be part of the 480 Collective. We have people who are focused more on actual music composition and music production, but we also have people who are more focused on marketing, social media engagement, business strategy, innovation and entrepreneurship, graphic design, media. So what we tried to do is create an actual working music organization. We don't necessarily love calling it a label because part of what we want to do is innovate and really think about what a music organization can be in 2026 and beyond. The music industry has changed so fundamentally, and it continues to change. And will continue to change, and we want to change with it, and we want to kind of question a lot of the assumptions that the existing infrastructure of music industry entities is based upon, and we really want to think critically about what we can be and what the possibilities for innovation in the space are.
Yeah, and how wonderful that you can incorporate so many different students' passions like graphic design alongside music through this.
Absolutely. It's been really amazing just to, it's wonderful to be able to say, we have a really, really big tent, we wanted to provide opportunities for as many students to, share their gifts and to gain experience in a real world working organization as possible. And that's, what the students have really created and what they've enabled.
Yeah, well, thank you two so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Our next recipient is helping enhance community in Maplewood, partnering with the Family Service Center Shelter. This grant created art-based community engagement between St. Thomas students and families. Participants created murals at the shelter in a common space for families to enjoy during their stay. Today, we're here with St. Thomas sociology professor, Dr. Patricia Maddox. Dr. Maddox, how does this mural support the environment of the shelter?
Yeah, so the interesting thing, I've been working with the shelter since 2018, and we would always do arts and crafts projects in this communal room. And the child specialist kept saying, oh, I wish we had a mural. I wish we could brighten up this space. I wish we could get the children to do some artwork on the walls. Like, it would be great. And so when I heard about the grant announcement, I was like, oh, this is my chance. So I put in a grant and we got it. So yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything specific that transferred from what you're teaching in this classroom to the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So myself and Professor Jarvie at the Doherty Family College, we pair our intro to sociology courses together. And so St. Thomas students on the College of Arts and Science side, and then the Doherty Family College, the two-year college, are paired together, where we do some simulations around housing affordability in the Twin Cities. And we've been pairing with the Family Service Center, which is one of only 2 family homeless shelters in Ramsey County. And so we worked with them for community engagement. So all in all, the students are working around the topics of housing affordability while also doing some community engagement with young people inside of a homeless shelter. So yeah.
Yeah. Can you describe what the mural looked like?
Oh, the mural was interesting. So over 6 different weeks, we had the kids draw artwork using the prompt, what makes them happy? And so it was, depending, we were there around Halloween, so you've got some pumpkins on the mural. We were there earlier in the fall, so you can see some leaves. But nonetheless, like many of the young people, they drew pictures of houses, so you can see some of the houses on the mural. We work with Dr. Mike Klein from Justice and Peace Studies, who was our mural artist, to kind of help bring everything together. He was also the artist. And so, yeah, we had the kids on the last day pick their best artwork. We sketched it out on the wall. And then, oh man, we just had fun with paint. So on the bottom of the mural was where the littles, so anybody really under the age of 5 had a paintbrush. And so everything we actually sketched on the wall turned into something different with the littles. So there's one portion of the mural where it's a bunch of it almost looks like a hodgepodge of what a kid would do with a crayon on a wall. And we decided to leave it like that because that best represented what the young people, the smallest of the smalls, could be able to do on the wall. So it's a mixture of a whole bunch of things, but nonetheless, it turned out to be kind of themes of comfort and really what the kids and some of the parents who participated too wanted to do was make this space as comforting for the next family.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And how did the students feel after completing this project?
Yeah, I think at first my students were in particular like, oh, I'm not an artist. Like there was a lot of apprehension, and we kept trying to tell them everybody's an artist. Really, what their job was to help the kids, guide them through the process and show them some self-esteem. I think all in all, I think the Doherty Family College students and the College of Arts and Science students in my course, I think they really learned that it takes a village, that by interacting, partnering with families at the Family Service Center, they were able to bring smiles, but they were also to understand the struggles of what it means to parent in a homeless shelter, right? So
yeah, and how great that these students could see these children and these families and allow them to feel loved in those moments.
Yeah. I mean, after all, I think we're all the same, and that is the idea here. Housing prices in the Twin Cities are insane, and so just hearing some of the families say that it was just one paycheck short. Seeing that pretty much everyone in the shelter's working, right, I think allows a lot of our college students to also see, hey, I'm working, I'm struggling too. And so there was just lots of commonalities in the room. So it helps kind of take away some stereotypes. At the same time, it allows us to work together as a community. So this grant was great in that way.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
This next grant brings ancient tradition into a modern lens. With 3 student assistantships, the John P. Monahan Gallery for Spring 2027 will explore how contemporary artists are reimagining Ming Dynasty practices. Digital media students brought this experience to life. I'm joined by art history and visual culture professor Elizabeth Kindle. Can you tell me about how this project combines traditional practices with a contemporary vision?
This was a real challenge at first because trying to think of 17th century, 18th century art and how to show that to the public, that's not very exciting. But when you actually look at how much that has affected people all over the country, all over the nations, all over the world, that was really kind of a fun thing. And so this began by with a seminar that I had with graduate students, and we were working on traditional art, and then they kept finding these objects that they were really interested in, that they wanted to work on, that were modern pieces, from ceramics to furniture, like Dutch furniture that was influenced by Chinese art, And so we thought, this would be really interesting to show to the public in a way that perhaps they would find, intriguing. And so that's how it began. And then we started thinking, now, how would we make this really exciting, right? And so one of the things that some of the graduate students decided to do was to imagine a video game. And so from there, we contacted Dr. Sky Anderson and we said, we have this video game idea. And he said, I love this. And so then we began working with him on that. And then everything kind of burgeoned from there. So he had an undergraduate student that he worked with on designing the game. And then I also have been working with 2 graduate students. And they have really been researching, all of the ways that art that we find from China, 17th, 18th century, how that's manifest in all of these different types of art forms. And so we've been looking into that and then deciding what we'd like to bring to the gallery for the show.
Yeah, you described a little bit about that video game. What were some of the challenges you faced in that digital creation?
The first thing was how to capture the studio and how to engage people with these objects that are, quite old, right, and make it exciting. One of the things that the students decided on was to kind of do an old school style of video game. So students found that kind of fun and exciting and hoped that people that played it would. And then the other thing we thought we would do was connect it to a local museum that they could actually go and see the objects, the ancient objects. So when you play the video game, you're actually going to be connected to objects that you could see at the Minneapolis Institute of Art.
Yeah. What was your experience with playing this game or interacting with it?
It was pretty overwhelming. It was quite exciting when you work on really ancient objects to see something that's so modern and yet teaching these really ancient concepts and ideas and topography subject matter. And so it was really fun to see something that I hoped would be engaging for people and yet at the same time was teaching them things that I really thought were important to know.
Yeah. And that's so fun too that students can see these things in the video game and then go visit it right here in the Twin Cities.
That was a goal, is that we really wanted to have that outreach. We're really engaged in the community, the arts in the community, and we wanted people to know that, the Minneapolis Institute of Art is there for them for all ages, and to go and enjoy the objects. We have so many wonderful pieces there.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking about your project with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Environmental Education and Interpretation, an elective class, gave Tommy something to help others within their careers. 17th students earn certifications as interpretive guides. This certification will help students get jobs in places like parks, museums, or historical sites. Earth, Environment, and Society professor Susan Kaplow is our next guest, here to talk about the class and the certifications. What does it mean to be an interpretive guide?
Great question. So the National Association for Interpretation is the professional association that administers this, and so I'm a certified interpretive guide trainer. And so they have kind of a set curriculum that has to do with, a lot of it is communication best practices and kind of broadly focused on the idea of making meaning and connecting visitors to something. So when you listed, museums and nature centers and zoos and aquariums and just anywhere where there's like a thing, even historical sites where there's a thing that you want to connect the audience to, and the interpreter is much like interpreting a language, they're interpreting the thing. Yeah. And so yeah, that's the basic idea of interpretation.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're working, say you're working at a nature center and you want to connect kids to snakes, right? So maybe you do a program where I would say the overarching idea is they really try to teach thematic interpretation, which is a little bit like a thesis if you've ever written a paper in college. And so the idea is that you've got some big idea that has universal principles and is connecting the audience through this universal understanding of, universal principles being things like love and fear and power and family, big ideas. And so, like, for example, maybe you have a snake program where you're like, snakes have families just like we do or something, and you're trying to make it so that they can kind of empathize with the snake, maybe get to learn its life a little bit better, and latch the ideas that you teach them onto something they already know about.
Yeah. How will this open up career opportunities for students in the future?
So I have taught a class like this for many years, and a lot of the students do end up going into environmental education, which, is a more direct link. But I do think that the principles in it really help anyone in any career who wants to make these kinds of connections, right? I would say a lot more careers have public speaking in them than people realize, or giving presentations where you're kind of asking people to understand something that's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. And I think as part of this elevating the arts component, because, I've taught this class for many years, but when I applied for the grant, the money paid for the certifications, which of course are not free, so that was a really nice thing to be able to do for the students, but it also kind of helped me think about more ways that the class can serve the students in just a general creativity lens, right? Not just environmental stuff, because I teach environmental topics, but like, how can we make it more broadly applicable? So even though the grant money didn't fund these aspects, like, I sought integration across the humanities designation for it, and I also got it listed in museum studies and communication studies to try to make it so it's not just about like connecting people to the environment, but just broadly, like, whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go, you're going to be able to use these principles. And so so we also did some arts, we did some activities in the class that were more art focused. We had an artist come and do an indigo dye workshop with the students, and she's a working artist, and she was using a lot of the same principles. It was really neat to see her connect, the act of indigo, because indigo dyeing, I didn't know this either, that it's basically like an art that was discovered in multiple different places around the world, in multiple different cultures. It's sort of this unifying human experience. It's really interesting. And then also weaving is also something that many cultures do in surprisingly similar ways. And then we also saw this piece that the English department brought in called Distillation, which was, if any of you guys got to see it, it was amazing. This performing artist brought in a huge table and filled it with like peat bog material from like the Irish bog, and it was this totally like sensory experience. And that was also something we've been really teaching about, is that when you're trying to get people to understand something, using all five senses is a really powerful way of doing it, and people are a little bit scared of like taste and smell because they seem a little weird. So getting people to kind of think outside of the box, be a little bit more willing to do something that may seem weird but is actually a more powerful experience than just talking to people.
Right, and like you said, it transfers over to so many different things. It's not just within the environmental education.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll be back on Monday, May 4th at 5:30 to hear from more Tommies and how they made an impact on their community.